if you decide to help people on that level, any guru, if you accept some some people are going to sit at your feet and hang around you, like say Neem Karoli Baba or Krishnamurti or Buddha or Jesus, any of these great Muji, if you're going to allow that to happen, and you're going to allow them to call you Guruji, and you're going to be comfortable with that, then I think for sure you know that you're setting yourself up to be very misunderstood, not only by the world at large, but by the very people who are sitting at your feet calling you calling them disciples of yours. With that understanding, I could feel that Osho was like, I'm going to create situations, and then you guys can live it.
I'm Olivia Clementine, and this is Love and Liberation. Today our guest is Miten. Miten dropped a successful career as a rock musician to explore the world of meditation. Together with his beloved, Deva, whom he met at Osho's meditation center in India in 1990, they have created a unique musical genre, setting the chants of India and Tibet into Western musical settings, and bringing the transformative, healing power of mantra into the 21st century. Before we begin today's conversation, I wanted to mention two things. Firstly, there's a point later in the conversation where the sound is a little bit off, and just know that there's some delicious rain falling in Costa Rica, where Miten is, and if you just keep listening, it will pass. Secondly, we begin right away into the conversation, and Miten is talking about his style of playing. So, here we go. I hope you enjoy.
My playing is really, it's really intuitive, and it's just basically colors, really. The chords and the stuff I make. It's different keys have different shades. Like for me, the key of A is red. It's warm. It's blood. And so whenever I play anything in A, it's got that thing. Whereas E minor is like mystical to the max. It's like it's just another engine. A minor is both, and if you listen to the Gayatri mantra that David chants there, it was made in A minor because I know that Deva's comfort zone vocally and orally is A minor. So I just put that mantra into A minor, and it's just like the most amazing thing to experience when Deva sings in that key. It's just like, I know, it's really like that for me every time, every concert, every time. As soon as I play the A minor for the Gayatri mantra, I know we're kind of rubbing the genie, and the genie is going to come out of the lamp, and then you just hold on because you don't know what's going to happen. That's the thing with the mantras. They're alive. They're really alive spirits.
When you're actually on stage playing and you're doing mantras, what is your experience often of falling into the mantra?
Well, yeah, you don't feel on stage. That's the first thing. You don't have the burden of thinking that you have to perform to the audience. There's none of that. The mantras wipe that slate absolutely clean. You can't emote a mantra. mantras are beyond emotion. So you don't have uh, that horrible feeling of being a performer in front of people who are staring at you. That's just not in my reality. And so what happens is the mantras are great equalizers. We're all in it together. Every audience, whatever nation we're playing in, we're all chanting in a language none of us understand. You know, none of us. Like there's very few Sanskrit scholars left, and it just so happened, that Deva was her father was a real he was a real one-off guy. He was an artist, and somehow, he'd been through the war and everything. He was really like um, a guy that you wouldn't expect to have an understanding of mantras and Sanskrit, but he did, and he was a real amazing man. I liked him very, very much. He's gone now, but who would have thought, that? Well, he chanted mantras for Deva in pregnancy, and so she's got the mantras in her bones, and in her blood and everything. But with Deva, it was not scholarly, and it wasn't even intellectual. She wasn't sat down and taught mantras and taught the power of mantras. That wasn't her reality, and it's a bit like me with the music. It was the same for me with music. So when we came together in Osho's ashram, we were really like two virgins. We were so open to the Master's grace, and I was. This was, like 20 years after I first came to Osho, or 10 years, I can't even remember anymore. But my in the ashram, my job was to organize and coordinate the music for the evening gatherings when the master would come. So, we weren't technically interested in being technical musicians because, again, with the master, when you're playing to an enlightened being, you're not concerned with any ego input. You're not trying to, get anyone's attention. You're in a very different space. So he taught me the power of spiritual music, And so when Deva came along, started to chant the mantras with me, and suddenly, it became an expression of a space that we'd experienced through meditation with Osho, but we'd never been able to express it in a musical way. With Osho's teachings and in the life we lived with him, we expressed it naturally in different ways. We had, for instance, the meditation music was very beautiful, and we had like full-on dance music, like samba, like Osho. Osho's favorite music before he left his body was samba. He used to love us to play samba, and we had some really hot Brazilian musicians, So Osho would come out, and I think, and he would dance with us. He would just, and I think he's the only master in history, as far as I know, who actually danced with his disciples. And I started to think, who? Krishnamurti, Ninkaroli Baba, no, nobody danced with their, and it's a most primal feeling. So the master was, so it started to all be one. So when me and Deva chant the mantras in these tours, there's no stage, there's just a circle. We see it cosmically as a circle. And when we come onto the stage, we create that final link in the circle. And then we sit together and we don't have to talk. We don't, people can welcome us to the stage and clap. And then we sit down and nothing happens. We just sit, David just sits down and closes her eyes. And I close my eyes, and the audience, starts to slow down and come into, slowly, because some people think, what the hell is going on? We've just been clapping them, and now they're just sitting there. And the silence begins to descend, on the gathering. So here we go. We've moved from a social gathering down into a meditation gathering without doing anything. All we need to do is sit, and slowly, slowly, the room settles until everybody's quiet. Not just whispering, but there's a silence, not even a whisper. And there you go. And once you feel that, then Deva can begin, and she just chants a cappella. She just chants into that silence without a keyboard, without piano, without anything. She just goes, and for me, that's the gift of a lifetime, and I get that every time. And she doesn't consider herself a singer or anything, but she just has this incredible power, and it's I've seen it over and over and over again, and it not only touches me every night, but I can, you just feel it, and so my good grace is to be able to support this songbird. When she came to me, she wasn't singing. She was studying body work, and she gave me a session, a shiatsu session. That's how we actually met, and it was just a really beautiful, amazing connection we had immediately after this session, and we became friends. And then I find out, wow, she had singing lessons when she was a kid, and piano lessons and violin lessons. Her mother was a classical musician, and her father was some kind of mystical German mystic artist, amazing artist, incredible artist, and who even signed his paintings with the sign. This was back in the 50s and 60s. That's his signature. So after the war, there's a cathedral in his hometown, and when they were rebuilding it, they had different artists of the town come and design the stained glass windows, for the the cathedral. And Wolfgang, David's father, he was given a window, a beautiful window, and he you can see it there. And if you look closely, you can see the sign in the church, and it's just the kind of thing Wolfgang's like. He was tough. He was a tough guy, but his humor was great, and we couldn't converse because he didn't speak English and I didn't speak German. So we used to converse by playing drums together. He made hand drums, dumbaks and congas and different kind of drums. And his place was full of drums, and paintings and workshop and dust. And he had no shiny surfaces. He covered everything up. So his ghetto blaster was like, everything was covered and artistic. It was amazing to be in this place. So David was brought up like that. And so she was, it was no surprise that at 17 she would be living in India on her own in an ashram. That's the kind of girl she was. And so, she was special spirit, Deva. And when I first hugged her, the first time I ever hugged her, it was like holding a spirit that was way older than me. I could hold her, even though she was 23 years younger. I'm holding her and I'm feeling, God, man, she's older than you, you know, it's amazing. So I've got very blessed life to have stumbled across Osho, and then he gave me music. He reignited the flame that was already inside of me of music. He refined the expression and made me understand what music is. He actually sees music is alive. It's a living thing, and as such, it is a great spiritual teacher, because you go to the temple of music with your instrument, and music accepts you, whether you can play great or whether you can't, because it doesn't. There's no technique involved in spiritual connection. It's all about feel, and it's all about the inner expression of being coming out, and so you're naked in there. You're naked before the world, and that's the point. Actually, that's the point, to stand naked and unafraid, and in the face of the world, and say, this is who I am, or this is who I've become, and for better or worse, and I accept myself. And so it's a beautiful thing. And Osho quite often said, look, when I'm gone, it's good that you find an alive spiritual master. And he gave me music as their spiritual alive, and music never dies. So it's just amazing.
I feel like a lot of your lyrics will reflect on that kind of welcoming, just welcoming all of ourselves, no matter what our situation is. And
all is welcome. All is welcome here. That's all.
What are your feelings on the word risk? Because I feel like, risk seems so significant in this path of realization, in the path of love.
Well, risk is connected to trust. And so depending on the level of trust you have, depending on what risks you allow yourself to take. If you trust life, and you see, trust is not, you can say the word or you can read it, but the only way we trust anything is if we've, in one way or another, fallen and have been caught. And you do that enough times and you realize, oh, it's okay, I'm going to be caught. I'm going to be caught, I know. And once you get to that, that's trust. Once you get to that, then you can do anything, So, then you can risk or you can choose not to. It's just, Osho, Osho's teachings were very profound for me, and they really went in, And one of the things he used to say, which touched me and has become my understanding now, and that is that when I have a situation which requires risk, let's say, I always take the riskiest one, because that's where I lose control of whatever ego I might have. That's where I'm going to learn something more about who I am, So so far, what my understanding is that because I now trust life, and I've been given enough, indications, even for someone as dumb as I am, that life is actually out to help me, and and to take care of me, And so uh, I can go there. I can go into the risk, and it's a nice feeling because it's uh, when you choose, you you you're conscious. You actually know what you don't know what you're doing, but you are aware that you're there to learn something. And so it keeps the door open, and it reduces the impulse to have opinions about everything. you know you don't I don't know, as I've got older, I was like, I don't need to have all these opinions anymore. People, let the people have the opinions. I don't really know. And if I have an opinion about something, somebody's got exactly the opposite somewhere that's just as true as my idea. So the less opinions I have, the more compassionate I become with myself and you and people around me. you know. I mean, I look at you and I feel I know you. It's not, there's no stranger there. It's just a really nice, beautiful smile and I feel you. So that's it. That's what I like about the internet. It's like, I don't know you, and we'd probably never have met. And now we're connecting. It's just incredible.
It is. It's such a miracle.
It's a miracle, yeah.
I'd love to talk about Osho for a second. Or I'd love to hear, are there any particular memories or stories with him that you would be willing to share?
My whole life is, when the different, there's like before Osho and after Osho with me. It was that extreme. He, I'm trying to, let me just think, because I want to say something in a way that I've never said it before, because I'm so used to talking about my connection with him.
I appreciate
What
it.
I, what I can say is that um, throughout the whole time he was alive and since, I've never had like a 1 minute or second of doubt about my connection with him and who he was. So it's very powerful, and he liked the edge. He liked it out there. He was like, "Come on, you think you're enlightened? You're okay. You can go up to a cave in the Himalayas and sit cross-legged and pretend you're enlightened, but let's go down into the marketplace and let's see what happens if you're still enlightened or whether you react all the time. So he was always seducing us to take a step further away from our uh, conditioning. And he would do that by confusing us. that was his method. That was his method. He, or if because it's a bit like that risk thing. If you go there, and in a way, back then going to India, uh, living in an ashram, it was a risk. It was kind of it was much more risky than doing a job and staying with your family or whatever. It was something else. And so in the ashram, the kind of basic foundation or the understanding was it's okay to make mistakes, but don't keep making the same one. We were okay with mistakes, and um, and it showed in the music, and it showed in everything we did. We weren't. There was a finesse about many people who came through that ashram and came through the whole time with Osho. Very, very amazing people, really. And But there was not a dogma. There was not one thing that Osho told us to do as a practice. Never. So, like the difference was the only thing he did at the start was he said, okay, here you go. This is what we're going to do. If you a young hippie, you came to India, you find that I'm speaking the truth, you want to have some enlightenment. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Just to see that you're committed or whether you're really just playing, we're going to say, wear red clothes and wear the mala and take a new name. And you still want it? you still want enlightenment? Because then you'd be walking around in London, in a red robe, and people would think you were out of your, and I got chased around by skinheads and things like that in London. And it was like, what am I doing? But there was a sense that whatever it is I'm doing is way better than anything else I've ever seen. And if I look stupid to the rest of the world, that must mean something, because the world is pretty fucked up. So it was like it was a challenge, and he eventually took that away, and he just left us with ourselves. And when he left his body, he was very, it was like some of the songs, like, it's time to sing your own song. And that's what happened when he left his body. We, in our own different ways, we found that we had a resource, something that we didn't realize when he was in his body. But when he left his body, we were left with this love that was projected out towards this little Indian man, and they didn't have anywhere to go. It was just like, it's here, So and that's that song, what does it say? When we're free of our chains, all that remains is the love we shared. That's what we leave when we leave the body. And so yeah. So here, like, I can say that what I saw also is that if you decide to help people on that level, any guru, if you accept some people are going to sit at your feet and hang around you, like, say, Neem Karoli Baba or Krishnamurti or Buddha or Jesus, any of these Muji, if you're going to allow that to happen, and you're going to allow them to call you Guruji, and you're going to be comfortable with that, then I think for sure that you're setting yourself up to be very misunderstood, not only by the world at large, but by the very people who are sitting at your feet, calling you calling them disciples of yours. With that understanding, I could feel that Osho was like, I'm going to create situations, and then you guys can live it. And that was what Wild Wild Country was. It was just like, I'm going to create this situation, and then I'm going to, he never came out. Osho, he was in his room all the time. He would come out for discourse. The rest of the time, he would read. He could read like books and books. He had this way of being able to read. But he liked to just sit in silence, and he used to like to drink Coca-Cola. He liked, and we got him off the sugar one. But he would be like, you'd bring in a Coca-Cola for him or something, come back 3 hours later, and the Coca-Cola would still be there, and he'd still be sitting there. Like, you didn't want your Coke. Said, Coca-Cola was there, I was here, and nothing happened in between. He was not scared to experiment. He didn't care what people thought of him. He was open to helping full throttle, and with so much love and so much laughter and compassion to, extraordinary measure. So he would, but even Osho, after many, many years of us asking him relationship questions, he went on for years, In the end, he said, look, no more relationship questions, That's it now. You figure it out, I've said everything I needed to say, you know. Because, it just goes on forever, like, I don't understand her when she does this or something. And it's like, I'm no more forgetting her.
Well, it makes me think of, but when we're talking about relationship, one thing I've heard you say that I found deeply resonant and inspiring was the line that you hold around your relationship with Deva is supporting each other's spiritual journeys. And it's not so much, some people have the line of marriage or whatever they are, but very few people, I think, really live to support each other's spiritual journey as their main intention.
That's priority. Yeah, I know. Well, maybe it's just because we met in an ashram. We had a different understanding of what, the sexual relationship is and what it can be. And, and the depth of friendship that is the priority. Nothing else is as important as that, because of course, you want your friend to live the best life they want to live. You don't want to. You don't want to be a jailer. So and that basically, yeah, that's. It's not that we're, in each other people's beds all the time or anything like that. But it's just that feeling that, you know what, and it started, well, we had a head start. We were in an ashram that was not concerned with separating the women and the men. Osho he wasn't a traditionalist. He wanted us to be together. He wanted us to be challenged with those kind of relationships and those kind of issues. And that's how he wanted to help us in the fire. Love is the fire, That's what we used, one of the songs. And so we had this atmosphere of respecting each other and respecting each other's personal authenticity. And so that was one thing. I can say honestly that, I was a jealous guy, like most people in some ways or other. I must have at least had a slight inkling of some kind of intelligence, because I could see the possibilities that he was talking about, that these kind of concepts, and at some point in there I had a long-term relationship, and then and then when it was falling apart, I had the freedom to feel the rejection, to feel the anger, and deal with it. I was in a place where I was with a master who had created meditations for the exact. It was like what do you call it? A prescription. You go to the doctors and you say, "Oh, I know what you want. This one," and so I could do a meditation over and over, and it was really intense. They weren't watching the breath. They were really set some meditations up that were there to give you the freedom to be absolutely crazy in a safe environment, and to just let go of your anger in a safe environment. And so those things, you didn't get anywhere else, and you still don't. People are scared of things like that, but we had safe places to go through a structure that he created. It's called dynamic meditation. After that relationship eventually evolved into friendship, and that was all it was. But it took a while because, we're a big family in the ashram, and I would see her with her new boyfriend or something, and it was my chance to live this new possibility and see her as my friend, and this is what, and so it helped. The whole thing was set for me to be able to deal with those kind of emotions and find, well, I'm not jealous. I'm actually, what am I feeling? Love, And this is what he talks about. This is what we all talk about year after year after year. But, you can talk about it. You can live in a cave in the Himalayas, and you'll never get the chance to find out if it's actually true or not. So when me and Deva got together, I was 23 years older than her. We weren't thinking about long term. We didn't think, maybe because when you get together with someone, you wonder, oh, is this the one? We never had that. David was like, I'm with this old 43-year-old guy, for she was 20, and me, it was like, what's this? She's younger than me, but she's older than me at the same time. We had this really a beautiful, loving friendship. It was just like so sweet, and I just loved to see her whenever we ran into each other, and we would just be like really, really nice, beautiful, beautiful friends. And then it started to get real good. She could sing. When you sing with someone, you are naked. You are totally exposed. Your voice, everything is revealed, So there we were. And now we are here like 20 years, 30 years later, sitting on stage with thousands of people and sharing as if we're making love with each other, because it's our tantric thing. It's where we meet, it takes it out of the bedroom, and we sing together, and we not only sing, we sing in mantras. So the whole thing is blessed. And so, how could I not trust life? How could I possibly not be grateful? And I am now in my later years, and I'm just like looking to see where are you, death? I want to welcome you. I want to be friends when you come. There's nothing to fear. Let's be friends. And that helps me to not take life too seriously anyway.
In 2018, you had open heart surgery. And
Mm-hmm.
I was so moved during that time because you were so open about it. You were on a video through the whole, before, and you said a few things. Like you said one thing about your clarity around knowing you're not just your body, and whether you make it or don't make it in a certain way, you're going to celebrate. There'll be celebration. And I'm curious about that process for you, whether you've just been really exploring within yourself your truth, that you aren't this body, or if that was a huge wake-up call for you in terms of really firsthand knowing that.
I think it's kind of childlike, I think there's an innocence that happened, in this kind of letting go that I experienced, and in this transformation that happened in those years when Osho was alive, and since. You see children have illnesses or something, and you wonder, wow, they're just so graceful in it. They just, it's all they know, and I've seen that a lot, and when I look back now, I realize I was like a child. I didn't have any fear. I didn't have anything. I just, okay, they tell me I've got to have open heart surgery, and it didn't feel like a big deal to me. Actually, the doctor said to me before they wheeled me into the theater, he said, this is no big deal, man. He said, I do like 3 or 4 of these every day, He said, it's okay, you're going to be fine, And I never doubted it. And when I came out, And when I regained consciousness, this Deva was there, Miten, Miten, the first thing I see is my beloved. And it was a beautiful experience. It was just a wonderful experience. And it was intense, and there were some moments of deep uh, catharsis and howls of anguish, and but they were all part of the healing process. It was just, it was a rebirth. So you have to get messy when there's a birth, and somehow things got messy, but that was okay. And it was all a lesson in trust. Everything for me comes back to Osho. It's just the way it is, and I'm sure there were many people that got hurt uh, around him because it was intense. It wasn't pastel colored, and so you could easily misunderstand what was going on, and you can easily misunderstand what he was doing because he spoke to thousands and thousands, so he was contradicting himself continually. So you couldn't hang on a dogma. You couldn't say, this is what I've got to do. It was all about what you took as an individual from being with the master. We were all individuals, so we all took different things depending on who we were and what our conditioning was and where we'd come from and what experience we'd had in life and everything. It was all up for grabs.
The risk of the guru, right? Like what you were talking about earlier, just like this person that's so willing to do anything possible to help people awaken and find their own truth is so risky because what you just said, like it's so based on people's particular perception and that fine line.
You're misunderstood, and you're also ridiculed by the status quo because they do not want freedom, people of such intense freedom. It's the same with all the rebels. If you go back in time, all the spiritual teachers were rebels. Gurdjieff, Jesus, you can go right back. They were all against, not against, but they were holding a light and shining a light on the unawareness and sleepiness of humanity. And it's even more obvious now because we're overpopulated to the max. So there's so many human beings and everyone's got an opinion. And there's no one knows the truth. So we're just in this free fall, of nobody knows how to steady the ship right now. Nobody. All I'm doing is calling the Great Spirit. And I don't know what it is anymore. I don't know what to label it. I don't know. So I just live it, And Dave is very beautiful. She's with me. And I'm with her. I'm going through my thing. Hello, I'm here too. I'm 50. I'm going through menopause soon. Hello, I need you too. And of course she's gone. I've watched Deva from a young woman. It's like go through whatever you go through in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and now she's just coming to her 50s, and that marks our 30 years together. It's like unbelievable. I don't really feel like going anywhere else right now. I've traveled. I've been in and out of group buses and band vans for 50 years, and sometimes I'm like sitting looking out the taxi window and we're going from one hotel to a concert or something, thinking, wow, here I am. This is what I do, and now it's stopped without me choosing it, and I'm going, who am I now? And I want to share, and God bless the internet so I can talk with you, and it's good for me to articulate. And
well, I'm truly so honored that you took the time. Your presence is such a gift.
Thank you, my love. That's very sweet of you. Stay with the moment as much as you can. There's always a sense of gratitude somewhere deep in our bellies, and there's a smile somewhere, even in our worst times. And so when you locate that and have access to that, you're okay, you're home.